Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Entitled People. It's time for more Karen stories, so be sure to like and subscribe and let's get into it. Entitled jerk at the supermarket tried to take my reward points. This happened yesterday after I got off work, and I'm rather peeved about it. I just went into my local supermarket to buy some quick groceries before going home and making dinner. I didn't have that much stuff, so I went for the self-checkout since it's generally faster. I was tired and just going through the motions. After scanning a couple of my items, someone suddenly swung their store card over my scanner. It was some guy I've never met before, and he was scanning his own groceries like it was nothing. I asked him what the hell he thought he was doing when he scanned his card at my till. He just tried to ignore me, but I got louder. So he finally just said that he needed the reward points for the gas station. And I countered by saying, "You think I don't? I own 2 vehicles." The guy tried to go back to ignoring me, so I called for an employee to void my transaction, so I could start over using my own card. That's when the jerk finally stopped what he was doing to yell at me. He pointed out how I was wearing a suit and probably had a well-paying job, so I didn't need to have to worry about money for gas, and he needed the points more than me. I told him that it didn't matter what he thought. He doesn't know me, we're not friends, and I use my reward points for fuel, nor is he entitled to them from my purchases. Finally, an employee showed up to stop the fighting, and the jerk tried to say to her that I was taking his reward points. I pointed out I can't be taking his points when they're at my damn till, and he scanned his own card at my till before I could scan mine. The jerk kept trying to talk over me as I said all that too. The timid girl working at self-checkout basically took off and called for a manager's help. I stood and waited, and the jerk kept glaring at me the entire time. Well, the manager showed up, and the jerk tried repeating the same nonsense, but the manager made him shut up while he was talking to me. And when I explained what happened, the manager voided my scans and let me start over, and I made sure to scan my own card right away this time. Then the manager gave the jerk an earful and told the guy that he better not do that ever again, or he'd be banning him from the store for 6 months. The jerk went a bit white, then red as he took his groceries and stomped out the door. And I mean the kind of stomping you see an angry kid do. The manager apologized to me and said this sort of thing happens more often than you think. I really hope I don't encounter that jerk again. I'm really not surprised to hear that this sort of thing is fairly common. This guy has probably done this before too. I'm sure he probably tries to do it in a sneaky way, hoping that people don't notice. Karens keep stealing from my garden. I live on a property with a beautiful lawn, and it came with a side garden running along the fence, bordering the sidewalk, full of herbs like mint, lavender, and oregano, some small carrots, and other stuff. I quickly learned that several older ladies in the neighborhood felt entitled to my garden. They were reaching through the fence posts up to their shoulders, going as far as their arm could reach, grabbing what they could and fill their plastic bags. They would wait till someone was out of the house, or early in the morning to make their grab and run. So they were well aware they were in the wrong. Just knowing they were doing this whenever we were out of the house made my skin crawl. So I ripped out the garden. Less work for me now. It honestly became too much work, and was messy to have. But it wasn't a big deal, and there was plenty of it to go around. I hate gardening, so it was a relief to get rid of. I also didn't like that the garden had become an invitation for thieving grannies to intrude on my property. I was planning on removing the garden eventually, but was not in a rush and didn't care enough. They just accelerated my plans to get rid of it by fueling me with spite. If only they had asked and introduced themselves, I probably would have kept it a little longer. Edit. For the people getting mad at me for removing the garden, I do not like to garden, and I did not like this garden. It was in all honesty a crappy garden. It was poorly planned, jumbled together, messy with weeds everywhere, and even when cleaned up it looked like horse crap. I have a black thumb, so I couldn't fix it if I tried. The garden had to go eventually. I just didn't care and wasn't in a rush, until I learned they were staking out my property to trespass and take things from it when I wasn't home. Edit 2. I am not going to maintain a garden I don't want, so don't suggest how I could have kept it, because I was going to remove it anyways. Electric or barbed fences are not permitted where I live, so don't suggest that either. This includes chicken wire. I would have let them take all the plants home, roots and all, had they asked, but since they didn't and I am petty, no plants for anybody. Edit 3. Stop suggesting I plant poison ivy, poison oak, or nettles. I want to be able to roll around my yard with my dog and enjoy it without a care. Edit 4. People are accusing me of depriving poor old people from food. I live in a well-to-do area, and the only depriving I am doing is boomers who feel entitled to trespass on my property. This was a crappy garden of just herbs and some carrots that were the size of my pinky toe. Nobody is being deprived of any real food to speak of. For whatever reason, they just felt entitled to it, ignored me the day I moved in, damaged my fence, and planned their trespassing excursions when I left the house. It's pretty amusing that some commenters in the Reddit thread actually think OP is a jerk for doing this. You know, I get it was mostly out of spite, but these neighbors are most likely well off given the neighborhood that they're in. And there's nothing wrong with feeling uncomfortable about people stealing from your property. Even if you were in a poor neighborhood, I think it would still be justified not wanting people to steal your food. They did it before. I honestly don't know why customers say this, because 99% of the time, it's a lie and rarely works. We do talk to each other, especially when out of the ordinary things happen. We also know who works what shifts. Something crazy happens at 8 p.m., all of the morning shift knows 2 hours after we open. We do talk. Which brings me to this. 2 ladies came to self-checkout and rang up their order, a $200 order. Then one of the ladies tried walking out with half while the other stayed to pay. She didn't get very far with her attempt, and they told her that nothing leaves until it's paid. They then admitted that they were using WIC, but forgot the card. My coworker told them they can either pay with alternate tender, or we would cancel the order. Then they came back with this gem. Well, can we just tell you the numbers on the card and you type it in? Note, we can type in the numbers from cards. It's a whole process, but it can be done. However, it can only be done in a manned register, and we need to see the card. My coworker tells them that it's not possible, and that a physical card has to be seen. And they kicked off. They did it before, they did it just last week, they said. My coworker asks them who did it. They stumble around for an answer because they have none. And my coworker tells them it's impossible to do something like that from self-checkout. They get pissed. They both leave to search their car for a card, while my coworker watches their order. A few minutes later, one lady came back stomping mad, because they of course didn't have the card or any money. My coworker said that unless the order was paid for, they couldn't have it. The lady screamed out, "Then you can put it all away," and almost ran out, still mad. And I know I'm going to get some, but have sympathy for poor single mothers and why didn't you do more? It's because there was literally nothing we could do. If we allowed them to pay without seeing the card, we could be held liable for fraud and theft. And I'm not about to risk my job and life to defraud the government. WIC and EBT have a lot of rules, and we don't break them for you. So this whole thing could just be an innocent mistake on their part, but the fact that one of them tried to walk out with half the groceries before paying really seems a bit fishy to me. Karen stole my rental car. I was staying at a hotel with mandatory valet parking. After checking out, my wife and I went to pick up the car, and saw the exact same make, model, and color vehicle we had rented pulling away. We joked that it was our car. The valet attendant goes to retrieve our vehicle, and pulls up with a vehicle with the same make and color, but different model. We immediately let him know, and he checks the ticket, keys, and cars in the lot, and it was at that point we all realized the valet had gotten our car swapped with Karen's. We did in fact watch her pull away in our rental car. Karen somehow didn't realize that the car she was now driving had a full body makeover, somehow had grown 2 additional doors, and had a weaker engine. Her new rental was also missing some of her belongings. The hotel contacted Karen to let her know of the valet's mistake within 10 minutes, and she indicated she would return immediately. Based on Karen's location, it should have taken her maximum 20 to 30 minutes to return. Long highway bridge with limited exits and turnaround opportunities. After an hour elapsed, Karen had not returned with the car and the police were called. The hotel contacted Karen again, and she said she was a few minutes away. The police said this was not a stolen vehicle issue and to call back if the car isn't returned or is damaged. Another 30 minutes elapsed and Karen was still joyriding in our rental car. So we contacted the police again, and they dispatched a unit to take statements. Karen again told the hotel she was just a few minutes away after another phone call. The officer arrived about 15 minutes later and called Karen. She was told to have the car back in 10 minutes or it'd be reported as stolen. When asked about why she was taking so long to return, she indicated that the hotel didn't notify her about the error until she was in a town about 45 minutes away. We know this to be a lie based on her earlier conversations with the hotel and the fact that we saw her pull away. Karen finally returned with the rental car after about 2 hours. She blew up at the valet attendant over having the police involved. She didn't realize it was actually my wife and I that called them, and it could have been avoided if she had immediately returned. She quickly swapped keys out and drove off in the correct vehicle, avoiding interaction with the officer. We thoroughly inspected the vehicle and noted no damage, but she did burn about 1/3 tank of gas and left an apple core and other garbage inside. The officer explained to us that during his call, Karen stated she had decided not to return immediately after being contacted by the hotel. She didn't want to be further inconvenienced by the valet's error and ran her errands, despite knowing that other hotel guests were waiting on her to return the rental car. He was surprised by her entitlement, but said that she did nothing criminal. The hotel and valet took full responsibility for the situation and appropriately reimbursed us for the inconvenience, aside from the lost time. The officer provided an event number and indicated that any further action would be civil in nature and between us and the valet company. No action taken against Karen. While the fault lies with the valet attendant, I just can't wrap my mind around how oblivious one must be to still take the wrong rental car, and the sense of entitlement one must have to run your errands after being notified of the vehicle swap. I think this Karen was just trying to take advantage of this opportunity and do all of her errands while burning gas that she doesn't have to pay for, given that she used 1/3 of a tank. Disney World Ken shows entitlement on the train. Shocking, I know. Yesterday at Disney World, I experienced a Ken moment. I was riding the train with my husband and daughter in a bench that would hold 4 people. We take off having a great time and go to the next station. At the station in front of the park, Ken puts his family's stroller in the empty spot in our row. I helped him maneuver it on by just pushing a wheel that was caught. It's at the end of the seat. The cast member is doing checks and tells me I can't have that on the end, and I tell him it isn't mine. He yells to ask who it belongs to, and Ken says it's his. The cast member explains it can't be on the end because it's a safety liability. Ken asks if I can just hold on to it. What? It isn't mine. The cast member shuts him down and basically tells him someone either needs to get off with it or move someone around so it can be in the middle. Ken says, what if she switches places with me? I respond and say I want to sit with my family. He will not stop arguing with this amazing cast member who says that there are 300 people waiting and they need to make a decision, and if it fell off it could kill someone. Ken didn't care. Oh, he also told the cast member I said I would be responsible for it, which never happened. In the end, the whole family got off the train and we took off, but not before his wife asked if they couldn't store it in the area for people and mobility devices. The cast member just said, yeah, that's not going to happen. Why one of his family members didn't just sit by me and move the stroller to the middle of their row, I don't know. I guess they just assumed I would leave my family to make their life more convenient. In the end, I know they were cursing me, and I wrote a compliment for the cast member on the Disney app. That's going to be it for today, guys. Thank you for watching. Be sure to hit that like button, I'd really appreciate it. And also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. So take care, have an awesome day, and until next time.